Thank you very much for the update, Jenna. We got Bartley Kives from the Winnipeg Free Press joining us to talk about some of the issues facing our city. We got to go to Chan versus Kate's. I think most people listened to or watched or tuned in for the announcement on Friday. But what do we actually understand about what happened on Friday?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a confusion out there because in the general mind, a lot of the people in Winnipeg were wondering, well, wait a second, there was a Christmas party. It was at a restaurant the mayor owned.
Seemed cut and dry.
It seems cut and dry, and in reality, the facts in the case were not in dispute. But that wasn't what the case was actually about. It was whether that spending violated something called the Municipal Council Conflict of Interest Act.
Okay.
Justice Brenda Kaiser looked at it and said, well, the specific wording of this important piece of this act, Section 16, it doesn't appear to meet it. Not only that, she also said, even if it did, there's a leeway in another section, a section called Section 21, that there's a difference between the word may and shall. And she has the discretion not to make the declaration, even if she felt that this did actually violate the act. The spending did violate the act. She wouldn't have actually declared that because it would have triggered an election. The election would have been expensive. And basically, that act itself is written in such a way that it doesn't really apply to a Christmas party. And that's what she decided. And there was also a lot of other precedent that didn't get discussed last week, but kind of bears that out. So she made a logical decision, but the other thing she did was quite stunning in the sense that we had a sitting justice, criticize the sitting mayor and say that his behavior was unethical, saying he exhibited bad ethical and political behavior.
And the justice mentioned the upcoming election, which should have political ramifications in said election.
Correct. Now, Kate's would be a front runner in that election if he ran again.
Right.
People who don't like him may be unhappy with it, but that's a simple fact. He's the most experienced politician at the civic level right now, and he would be the person to beat. That said, anybody running against him could pull that quote by the justice out, and it would be fair comment in an attack ad or a pamphlet or whatnot, because again, sitting justice, a very respected individual in the city, in the society, this role is important. So it's quite an amazing thing that happened last week, because quite frankly, justice made a logical decision that people may not understand, but then came up with this quite stinging rebuke.
And might have long-term consequences for our current mayor. Let's talk about will there be a round two, and how do we expect that to be any different?
A round two in terms of, is there going to be an appeal on this?
Yes.
Probably not. The way she wrote or the way she issued the decision, there wasn't a written decision, would make that unlikely, especially given the fact that Mr. Chan is going to be paying $10,000 in court costs given his, bizarre behavior throughout the case.
Okay, so we probably won't see a round two. Let's move on to the one topic that at this time of the year has everybody talking, our flood. We're going to get new numbers very shortly. Do we expect things to be any different? How bad do we expect it to be?
Well, again, the Red River Valley is the big issue this year versus the Assiniboine River Valley, which was the big issue in 2011. All of the communities along the Red in Manitoba have ring dikes, are experienced at dealing with this, and even if the forecast gets a little bit worse, chances are they're going to be okay. The real issue right now is, of course, it's very cold this late into the season. We have a large snowpack that hasn't melted yet, and it's not just it melting all at once, it's it melting all at once with rainfall on top of it and the surface layer of the ground being frozen so that all that water can't go into the ground and ends up in the river. So that's what the province is concerned about, and we're going to hear a little bit about that, but the reality is, even in a worst case scenario right now, the average Winnipegger, the average Manitoban living inside of town is going to go meh, and the actual farmers are going to have all this cleanup, and there's going to be highway delays and the usual severe headache and annoyance that we get. And the real issue is cumulative. We consistently have these big floods every couple of years. It begins taking a toll on people's livelihoods and the economy in general.
We barely recover from the one from 2011, and we're about to start dealing with the one in a different
part, and and it's all like flood all the time here.
It's part of what makes us us.
Yes.
Simple as that. Bartley Kives, you can check him out on breakfasttelevision.ca. All the links and all the information there. Going to take a break. Still plenty to come on BT.